Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and typically on this channel you see a lot of weight loss, health related videos, meal preps, grocery hauls, recipes. I do try to put 5 videos up per week, but I am an avid reader as well. And a couple years ago, I had people ask me if I would share some book reviews, and I love to talk about the books that I read. I know these are not the most viewed videos, but I love to make them. Unfortunately, it's been really hard for me to make them every month for a couple of reasons. One, I just work a lot outside the home with my regular job, and it's just hard for me sometimes to find time to sit down and film these videos and find time to edit them and get them up in a timely manner. So one of the decisions that I made was to start doing these videos seasonally, and then that way I have a lot of books to share with you, can really give you my thoughts on them, really take some time to do, to sit down to put my thoughts on paper and to share my likes and dislikes about different books and authors and that kind of thing. So we're going to be doing these seasonally. So what I'm going to be sharing with you is going to be my book reviews for all the books I read during the summer. Unfortunately, I have been in just the biggest reading slump. I only read 4 books in the months of July and August. So again, another good reason to do this seasonally right now. If for some reason it looks like I'm really getting back into the swing of things and reading a whole lot more, I may maybe do the videos like every other month or something, so that way there's not so many in one video. But I am hoping now that the busy summer months are over, I've just been so busy with work that I can devote more time to reading. Also, I didn't read very good books this season, and I think that was another reason why I think those put me into a reading slump, not reading very good books. As always, I'm going to give you the Goodreads rating at the time of filming this video and my personal rating. I'm going to be looking at my notes here in front of the screen, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. I don't have the best memory. There will be no spoilers in this review video. I read pretty much exclusively ebooks. They're definitely my preference. It's just easy. I can read anywhere I'm at. I find my books at my local library through different, I think it's like Overdrive, is that the name of the app that you use? I don't know. Something like that. I also find them through Amazon Prime Reading, which is free with your Amazon Prime service, or through Kindle Unlimited, which is a pay service through Amazon. I do pay $9.99 a month for that service. However, I find a ton of books. It's definitely well worth it for me because I do typically read more often than I have been. So when I'm reading 5 or 6 books a month and 3 or 4 of them are through the Kindle Unlimited, it definitely pays for itself. And there's a lot of books to choose from. You usually can find a really good deal. Like, I think sometimes it's actually your first month is free. Every once in a while you'll have a good deal where Kindle Unlimited will be like $2.99 for 3 months. I think that's when I signed up for it. It was like $2.99 a month for 3 months, and then you went to the $9.99. So definitely check it out. Like, you can get a pretty good deal to give it a try. I also find really good sales through Amazon and through Apple Books. I normally will not pay over $3.99 for a book. Another couple services I like to tell you about is, I told you about the Amazon Prime Reading, just in case you didn't know. And also, if you're also part of the Amazon Prime Reading, then you will get an email. They call it the First Books, Amazon First Books, and they are books that have not been released yet, and they will be released usually the following month. So you'll get a list in your email of all these books, and they're all different categories, different genres, and you can pick one of those books to read for free before it's actually released and just give it a review, and then it'll be released the next month at a regular price. So that's one way. Also, there's a program called, I think it's called eIQ Reader or eReader IQ, something like that. I will have it linked down below. You can connect your Amazon wish list to that, and what it does is it tells you when books on your wish list go on sale. So I will have all that stuff linked down below. Also, if I found a book through Prime Reading or Kindle Unlimited, I will let you know. And there'll be links to get into all of these services, as well as links to each of the books' Goodreads page and the Amazon page where you can read reviews or purchase it. And if you want to be friends on Goodreads, my link is always down below in the description box. Okay, let's get into the reviews. I always do my reviews in the order of how I read the book, not in the order of how I felt about the book. Book number 1, Do You Remember by Freida McFadden. My rating 4 stars. Goodreads rating 4.21 stars. So by now, if you watch my book review videos, you all know my love for Freida McFadden's writing. This is, I believe, like the 5th book now that I have read by this author, and I only discovered her like 3 or 4 months ago, 5 months ago, I think in May. This book can be found on Kindle Unlimited. So let's start with a synopsis of this book and then we'll unpack it. Tess Strebel can't recognize her own face. She can't recognize her home, her bedroom is unfamiliar, and she can't remember the handsome stranger lying next to her in bed, a stranger who claims he's her husband. Tess reads a letter in her own handwriting composed during a rare lucid day, explaining her life as it now exists. She was in a terrible car accident 1 year ago. Every morning she wakes up unable to remember most of the last decade, including her own wedding. Tess has no choice but to accept her new life and hope her memory will return. After all, why should she doubt the letter she wrote to herself or the kind man from her wedding photos on her dresser who seems to genuinely care about her well-being? And then Tess receives a text message on her phone, one that changes everything. Don't trust the man who calls himself your husband. As I said earlier, I love Freida McFadden. But this definitely was not one of my favorites from her so far. It wasn't terrible, and I love her writing style. Her writing style was great. So I feel good about the 4-star rating I gave it. Tess wakes up every day with no memory of what happened the day prior. She is being told by herself and someone else not to trust the caring, supportive husband she doesn't remember. So great synopsis, great plot, I feel like, and I know it's been done before, but I felt, like I really didn't care because I love Freida McFadden. I'm going to pick up anything she writes. I'll tell you that right now. Anything she writes, I'm going to pick up. So this is what I liked about the book. Short chapters. I'm a huge fan of books with short chapters. I feel like it just helps you get through the book, helps you, especially with thrillers and suspense novels, it just gets that suspense up really well. Character development, always Freida McFadden has the best characters in her books. She is phenomenal with character development. Short time period, I love that in these kind of books where you're reliving the same day. I love it. If I remember right, this book is told in less than a week period. I think it's 5 or 6, 7 days or something like that. So we really didn't have to wait long to find out the rest of the story. Here's what could have been better in this book. So the book did get repetitive at times, but given the plot, that really was expected. But I felt towards the middle, it was just a little bit too much. It just got to be where I felt like there could have been some other things that could have happened. I wanted more from Tess. I feel like she could have done more to help herself, remember the next day. If you read this book, which I do suggest you read the book. It's a good book. I don't want to say any more without giving any spoilers, but even you saw from the synopsis, she writes herself a note. She's getting these text messages. I felt like there could have been more she could have done to help herself remember. The ending. I really wanted more from the ending. I really did. It wasn't terrible, and it did wrap the story up, but I just wish the epilogue would have provided just a little bit more detail. If you've never read any of Freida McFadden's books, don't start with this one. Try The Housemaid or The Locked Door. Those are two of my favorites. But definitely this one's a good book. It really is. I think just because I have read recently I read a book almost just like this. And I think maybe because I have read 1 or 2 other books like this where they're repeating the next day, can't remember, there's a husband, do they trust the husband, do they trust the boyfriend, that kind of thing, since it's been done. Maybe that's another reason why it felt really repetitive to me, because I felt like I just read the story before. And I just felt like it wasn't her best book. But definitely check out any of other Freida McFadden's books. You'll love them. She's really good. She's great, like I said, with character development, great with the suspense, great with the twists and turns. You will not see a lot of her twists and turns coming. So definitely check out The Housemaid or The Locked Door. Number 2 was called Good as Dead by Susan Walter. My rating, 3 stars. Goodreads rating, 4.11. Sometimes me and Goodreads don't get along when it comes to our ratings. Sometimes I rate them a lot higher than what's on Goodreads. And I know you're talking however many thousands of people or hundreds of people that have read the books and given their rating. So it's really going to be so objective. Reading is so subjective. It's one person likes one type, one person likes another type. So definitely with the Goodreads rating, I kind of take it for a grain of salt. Sometimes if I see a Goodreads rating that's kind of low, but the book sounds amazing to me, I'll look at some of the reviews. I don't typically like to read reviews before I go into a book. I read the non-spoiler reviews if I'm just not sure, and if it's just because it's somebody's certain opinion about the type of maybe material that's in the book, and that's the reason why they don't like it, then I'll just go ahead and read it. So just remember, reading subjective, so also take that when I talk about some of these books. So here's a synopsis of Good as Dead. It all starts with a promise from a stranger. We'll take care of everything. Holly Kendrick's husband is dead. Holly saw it all. In one violent moment, a hit-and-run accident turns Holly's life upside down. Then a fixer for the high-powered guilty party approaches Holly with an offer she is in no position to refuse. Holly and her daughter Savannah will want for nothing, beginning with a luxury dream house, all for the price of their silence. But when their sudden appearance in privileged Calabasas, California, piques the curiosity of neighbors, the price becomes greater than they imagined, because Holly and Savannah aren't the only ones in the neighborhood with something to hide. Told from alternating points of view, Good as Dead draws together an unlikely group of people bound to one another by a crime, a cover-up, and compounding deceptions. As carefully constructed lies begin to crumble, how far will everyone be willing to go to bury the truth and protect the people they love? It took me a long time to read this book. I almost stopped reading it, but I was interested enough in the mystery that I wanted to finish it. I never connected with the characters, even though the situation revolving around the characters, I should have cared more, but I just feel like I just did not care, and the writing did not make me want to care. There were no big twists and turns. I was able to see any kind of twist and turn, like a little bit of a twist and turn or mystery. I was able to see it coming. I think there was also too many points of views and too many different points of time. So every chapter switched from either present day to 3 months prior, and each character was a different chapter. So I think we had like 5 or 6 different character points of view throughout this entire book. It just got to be a bit confusing. And there were many chapters where the information you got, it just seemed useless. Like, it didn't add anything to the story. It never came into play later on. Quite often the chapters would end up with you wanting more, but then it would do a time jump to either 3 months earlier or back to present time without a resolution from the previous chapter. And it was never talked about again. So you're like, okay, wait a second, what happened with this? Like, why are we not talking about this? I just think it really hurt the suspense of it. The ending was good though, and that's why I gave it 3 stars, but I spent way too much time on this book, and I definitely am not going to do that again. It's one of the reasons why I think I was put into a reading slump, is because I just did not have very good books there at the beginning of the month. And this one, I just spent days and days and days, maybe even a couple weeks reading, and I should not have spent that much time on it. Number 3 was The Night Swim by Megan Golden. My rating 5 stars, Goodreads rating 4.06. It took me almost a month to pick up another book after those first 2. I just, again, wasn't excited about reading. I was so glad I chose this book to break my reading slump. And this is the first book that I've read from this author. Again, it's Megan Golden. So let's go into the synopsis of this book, and then we'll talk about my thoughts. After the first season of her true crime podcast became an overnight sensation and set an innocent man free, Rachel Crowell is now a household name and the last hope for thousands of people seeking justice. But she's used to being recognized for her voice, not her face, which makes it all the more unsettling when she finds a note on her car windshield addressed to her begging for help. The small town in Neapolis is being torn apart by a devastating rape trial. The town's golden boy, a swimmer destined for Olympic greatness, has been accused of raping a high school student, the beloved granddaughter of the police chief. Pressure to make season 3 a success, Rachel throws herself into interviewing and investigating, but the mysterious letters keep showing up in unexpected places. Someone is following her, and she won't stop until Rachel finds out what happened to her sister 25 years ago. Officially, Jenny Stills tragically drowned, but the letters insist she was murdered, and when Rachel starts asking questions, nobody seems to want to answer. The present start to collide as Rachel uncovers startling connections between the 2 cases that will change the course of the trial and the lives of everyone involved. I'm not going to give a lot on my thoughts of this, because I truly think you need to go into this one not knowing anything but the synopsis. But I'm going to tell you that, being a lover of true crime podcasts and mystery novels, this book was a perfect combination of both. This book was told as part podcast, part investigation, part mystery. I love the small town drama surrounding the mystery. That's always fun. I'm from a small town, And I feel like it's just fun to read about small towns. It's a well-written emotional story and exactly what I needed to pull me out of my reading slump. I would love to see Rachel's character in future books. I think like it would make a great series. I have not seen anything. I think this book came out in 2020 and I have not seen anything that this is going to be a series, but I truly think that she could write another book about Rachel Crall, and I think that it would be a hit because I feel like this was a really popular book. After reading all the reviews on it, I felt like it was a really popular book. I also have another one of her books, the one that just came out, I think, earlier this year, on my to-be-read list, so I'm going to be checking that one out very soon. And book number 4 was called The Guilty Husband by Stephanie DeCarolis. My rating 4 stars, Goodreads 4.15. So this is the last book that I read in August. This is the first from this author. This book can also be found on Kindle Unlimited. Get into the synopsis. It only takes one lie to destroy a marriage. The perfect husband, Vince Taylor, has everything he could dream of. He's the CEO of a tech firm in New York City, owns a beautiful home, and most importantly, he is married to Nicole, the woman who stole his heart the first moment he set eyes on her. Together they have built the perfect life. One guilty secret. But when Layla, a stunning young intern at Vince's company, is found dead, all eyes are suddenly on him. Vince has a secret that threatens to tear their perfect world apart. He was having an affair with Layla and he'll do anything to cover his tracks. Do you believe him? When the police discover Vince lied about their relationship, they are convinced they have found Layla's killer. If Vince kept quiet about the affair, what else is he guilty of? This book was fast-paced. It was a great thriller with lots and lots of twists and turns, short chapters that help keep the story fast-paced and interesting. The strongest part of this book by far was the character development. The characters were so well developed and real. They were easy to like and dislike for those that you were supposed to dislike. The author even made you feel sorry for the unfaithful husband. That can only seriously be attributed to the author's great writing. Every character has secrets. In my opinion, when every character in the book brings something to the story, it just makes for a faster, more interesting read. You don't feel the need to skim or skip chapters because it's about a character that doesn't really add much to the story. And there wasn't a clear-cut line between who was good and who was bad. I love that when it comes to characters. We just had to wait to see where the character development went. I mean, so good, so good. So now as I'm talking about this book and thinking about it, I may actually change my rating to a 5-star rating. I may be talking myself into that. The only reason for the 4-star rating is I did guess who the murderer was pretty early on, and y'all know, that's usually an automatic 4-star for me. I was hoping I would be wrong and the author would surprise me, but that wasn't the case. It did not, though. It did not take away from the book or the story. Not at all. I will absolutely look for more from this author. And like I said, that character development was so good. I mean, when you feel sorry for somebody who's cheating on his wife, yeah, that's good character development. Now, I don't agree with what he did, but you did feel a little sorry for him. You did feel some sympathy for him. Short-lived, but you did feel it for him. But just great character development. I will definitely be checking out more from this author. That's everything that I read in the month of July and August. I know, pretty pitiful, but I am feeling really good about my reading right now for the fall because I just started a new book yesterday and it is so good and I'm flying through it. So I'm hoping that this really jumpstarts my reading for the fall, and I have high hopes, y'all. High hopes to get back into my 4 books a month because that is my goal, is 4 books a month. Let me know down in the comment section, what have you guys been reading? What have you picked up? Anything good? Anyway, I will talk to you guys in the next video. Everything will be linked down below, and I'll see you guys then. Bye, guys.